Alright, yeah, my teachers always told me I'd never amount to nothing, and they may have been right. That's why I jump on a mic every night. 'Cause when I jump on the mic, that's how I know that I'ma be alright. Well, I'ma be alright.
Good learning environment for your students. So, number one, we're looking at the physical layout of your classroom. Okay, if students walk in and see just stuff everywhere, no structure to it, don't get me wrong, I get it, there's different levels of organisation amongst people, but there needs to be some structure to the classroom. Okay, even how you organise your tables, are they in groups, are they in rows, whatever. Is there some posters on the room, some visual displays? If there's something there that has signal to the students that there's some structure involved, that's going to be beneficial to your learning environment. Secondly, with the physical environment, you want to make sure when you set it up, it's going to be easy to maneuver around. As we all know in the teaching game, 60 minutes, which most lessons are, it's going to be hard for a student to sit down for 60 minutes. So there's going to be some movement in the classroom. So those students are going to need clear pathways to go around. Okay, it might not be that the pirate ship situation or however you set up your formation of tables, it may look good, but it's not necessarily going to be productive for movement or flow of student traffic around your classroom. Another one is have your materials ready before the lesson. As much as we want students to bring pencils and erasers and whatever else to class, these days, more than often it seems not to happen. Every student can have an iPhone 58, but bringing a pencil to class to do some work doesn't seem like it's part of the day. So the way to get around that, have some pencils ready. Okay, so whatever your 100, so I use 100 bunch of pencils and then you sharpen those every couple of days, have your erasers cut up. Sure, it's a bit more work in a short time, but it is fascinating to let students to go into a class without bringing any resources to class and just thinking they can get away with it. You're spending 10 minutes there across the class putting out spot fires because students don't have the resources to do anything. At least if they've got the resources there and you train the students where they keep them in the same spot each time. I like to use a front table of the class. As the students walk in, that's going to help you out. Okay, and you're eliminating that downtime. From the get-go, how you enter the classroom is going to be important. Now, I don't line my students up anymore. I used to, but not so much anymore. But what it means is as soon as I meet students at the door, and as soon as they come in, usually in small groups or individual, I can be on them straight away. They'll have a starter activity to work with. They know where to collect the pencils and the resources, and they know what to do for the first 10 minutes. Okay, and then as they're getting in, it's not just they're in the classroom and then I tell them once or twice. I mean, you're constantly on those students. Yeah, should be working on this. Why aren't we doing this? Why are we talking too much? So you constantly, although you might only have 5 students to start with, you can work with it from there. Then as students start to roll in late, you can have those conversations. Obviously, why are you late? If it's a consistent thing, at least you've got most of the class over time working on something to start with to at least have some form of engagement. Now, that's not going to be, ideally you want all students rocking up on time at the same time, and that's something that needs to be figured out as you go along, okay? But in the meantime, have the routines. Also, your attention routine, okay? I like location every time I need to announce something to the class, because what it shows me is that, what it's showing the students is this, when I'm standing in this spot or I'm training them, they need to listen because there's some kind of instructions going. Okay, the big one's transition routines. After 10, 15 minutes of the warm-up activity, then I'm going into the direct component. Okay, so students might either bring me up their package of work from the start, collect their notebooks, turn the textbook to whatever page or whatever activity we're doing. So it gives them 2 or 3 minutes, but I mean nothing longer than that. And I'm counting down, okay, not, you know, might be 2 minutes and 1:30 and whatever, till you get back to 0, to put at least some structure around that time as well. Just saying get up and go to students in a year 9 class or any lower school class halfway through a lesson can be disastrous. Step number 3 for a successful learning environment, make success achievable. My experience working with difficult students is the disengagement that comes from, they feel like they've just missed or they're so far behind because they've missed so many steps in their previous education. Okay, now that's, accountability is going to be on the student as well. I mean, what are the reasons for it, missed school or misbehaviour or whatever, but even if you can make small wins possible, you can roll that in and build momentum. So the student that's usually for the first couple of weeks doesn't do any work, sits there with their head down on the desk, attempts the easier questions, well done, doesn't need to be publicly, but at least you're walking past a student saying you notice. Okay, now they might not, that same student might not end up being an A grade student in math, but at least they're progressing and they can take that life lesson outside of the classroom and go, okay, as long as I just try at something, I can start moving forward, which I think is the key, or the sort of the as you work through, what you want to do is, I relied early on in my teaching days to put basically a Broadway spectacle on in the classroom each time. I had to be the most entertaining one in the classroom, otherwise nothing would get learned. Now that was mid-2000s, 2009, 2010, so I wasn't battling, you know, smaller attention spans like these days. These days I have a presence, but I have a persistence as well. So I fall back on my routines more than my personality, because I know as the day goes on and I'm tired and, you know, certain things might have happened during the day, I don't have necessarily the same energy I would have at the start of the day. So if I can have strong routines there and I know how to chunk my lesson up, that can do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. Okay, now when it comes to your presence, it's just being consistent in the classroom. Okay, so I focus on being calm and composed. Now, that doesn't necessarily come naturally to me, but I know I can put the work in every day, because I know if I stay in that state of calm and composed, that's going to get the most for the learning environment, the most out of me and the most for my students. Now, there's going to be days where obviously that level differs a little bit, but as experience comes in, you get more and more consistent with it. So don't just expect you have to be the biggest personality in the room. Now, if that's your personality naturally, go for it. But where I possibly had issues at the start of my career, was facing burnout, is because you're putting all this energy into providing this spectacle, which isn't necessarily having the flow-on effect to the greater learning outcomes. Where if I'm just consistent and composed and calm today, and have strong routines around me and chunk up my lessons, that's going to be more effective for your learning environment. How to build up a strong learning environment. Any questions, any notes, any feedback, feel free to put in the comments. Like always, appreciate your time. Thanks for listening.